Hello and welcome to Social Media Help Desk. I am not Katie Wagner. I'm also not Jeff, who is also the other host. I am Alexandra and I am here with Taylor, one of our content editors, and Billy, one of our web developers. And today we're talking about, well, first we're talking about IHOP is what we're talking about. In case you didn't see, IHOP is running a campaign right now.
Best or worst of the year?
Yeah, I can't tell. That's what we're going to, I mean, what do you guys think? The B now stands for burgers.
IHOP.
It's not very, I mean, it's been amazing just to watch it trend and see it like really like skyrocket. Like, I don't get the idea, but somebody does.
I thought it was such a joke. I just thought it was a meme going around. I had no idea it was real, and I was just scrolling past it, and then everyone was like, you know, it's real, and I was like, wow, I thought it was a complete joke.
It's temporary, but it's very real. In fact, I read somewhere that they had actually gotten the Twitter handle 2 years ago. They've been planning this for 2 years at least.
That's insane.
So
wait, is it temporary? Do we know this?
It is temporary. Oh. They're not going to stay. Don't worry, they'll
Do
stay.
they stop selling burgers altogether when they go back to pancakes?
I mean, they sell burgers now, and before they did. So I don't know. But the reason we're bringing this up is this is the kind of publicity stunt that sometimes big campaigns will go through, and it seems like some of their competitors, and or maybe they're not competitors, other companies have gotten in on it too.
Retweets.
I know, there's so many. So we're gonna read a couple of them for you just because they're hilarious. Wendy's, who is known for their very sassy Twitter account, said they're not really afraid of burgers from a place that decided pancakes were too hard.
Brutal.
Are there, I mean, what do you guys think of using like jumping on a trend when something like this happens? Is this a good way for companies to?
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I don't think I mean, I don't know how great of a campaign it is for IHOP, but I think it's a great campaign for all the other brands to jump on board. But I guess, you know, in return, that's giving IHOP a lot of, I don't even know what to call it. I'm like, IHOP,
It's IHOP. I can't.
I think it's giving them a lot of good publicity, so maybe it's good for both.
Yeah?
I think it depends a lot on your brand. Like Wendy's is already known for its like cheeky Twitters and stuff like that. But if you come in as a different company that's not known for that, it's like, why are you picking on poor IHOP? You know, it just doesn't. It seems out of character. Like if your company can handle it, yes, go for it. But if not,
I think they had to know that this was going to cause that big of a scam, like big of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're prepared.
That's probably what they wanted to do. They wanted to get all of this because, you know, even bad press is good press, as they say, right?
Yes.
I guess it just depends on whether it translates into people showing up at IHOP, and also, are they going to even try their burgers? Is that what you're going to go to?
Can we take a vote? Who would try them now?
I was never going to try their burgers, and they've been on the menu. I'm not going to IHOP.
Me neither.
Like, would you go now?
No.
Think about it.
No.
Would I go now for burgers? No, I don't want to reward that kind of behavior.
Maybe I'd go now for pancakes.
See, that was what I was thinking, is maybe it would just get me to go, oh yeah, I really want pancakes.
Yeah.
And I just go get more pancakes.
Huh.
Yeah. Like
Maybe that'll
pancakes.
do it. I mean, you've got all kinds of people jumping on. Burger King has changed their Twitter to Pancake King, so they've even got a logo. Somebody designed a logo.
Oh my gosh.
All right, moving on.
More serious stuff.
More serious stuff, and maybe this can tie in. Negative comments.
Ooh,
We're going to talk about what negative comments and how to deal with them on your socials. So I'm sure IHOP is getting plenty of their own. So Taylor, why don't you go ahead and let us know, how do we deal with negative comments?
So you guys, I wrote a blog on how to handle negative social media comments for businesses. You can check it out. The first thing I want to start with is, did you guys know that 51% of consumers use social media to communicate with businesses? So that's over half the people in the world, by 1%, use social media to interact with businesses, and that's, I think, the most efficient way these days. So I think it's really important that businesses are also being efficient in responding back, and part of comments are negative ones, and so how you handle that is super important. And we kind of go through 3 steps how to handle this. So the first one's going to be create a plan. So whether you hire a social media agency like us to run your accounts, or you run it in-house, and it doesn't matter even if we do run it for you, it's important to create a plan so you know who's responding to the negative comments. So whether it's a negative comment comes in and the agency has a protocol to handle it, or the agency shows the company how to handle it, the most important thing is that the responses are consistent and that they're answered fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to people interacting with, you know, businesses through social media. I mean, I think because it's like, it's a public place for people to air their grievances, and I think that can be, you know, dangerous for companies, but also really good. You've seen, you know, companies out there that had a public response to something that was like, oh, that was a great way to handle that problem.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I talk about it at the end of my blog too. I'm doing a lot of blog pushing right now.
Did you write a blog?
Yeah. We talk about whether or not the comment that is left needs a response. You know, not everything, even if it does maybe have a negative connotation, not everything needs a response. So you kind of do have to filter what's important, and that goes along with my second point that we're going to get to.
Does everything need a public response or private response?
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to get into next. So creating guidelines for how these responses are handled. The biggest guideline is always respond publicly, but without details in the nitty gritty, and then you take it private. So you want to acknowledge the comment, and then you say like, hey, like we hear you, but we're gonna message you right now to handle the issue. So you never hash it out in the comments for everyone to see, but you do want everyone to see that you're on top of it and you are willing to handle it. And then you go into a private message with whoever the consumer is and handle the details there.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Is there anything else we should know about it?
Well, I think it's just important for businesses to know that every single company gets negative feedback. It doesn't matter if you're the best company in the world or the worst. Everyone's experiencing the same negative comments on social media. There's always people that are there's always haters. There's always people that are gonna leave negative comments. So just to know that it's not a reflection of your business at all, but how you handle it does reflect, and I think that's really important. And another way is using the feedback to improve your company. You know, that's a big step. So, you know, there's always room for improvement, and it's nice that it's almost like a focus group of all these people coming in, and you're getting, you know, what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear, but then you know what to change for your business. So, yeah.
And we've talked about using those negative comments or bad reviews even before in another help desk about, you know, reaching out and how you can turn that into a positive engagement too. So we know that addressing them and then, you know, utilizing this moment as a teaching moment for the company or for educating your client. Maybe that was what the problem was. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, you know, and being able to reach out to those people.
Yeah, it all ends up to be a good thing. When you have a plan in line and you have guidelines that are followed to handle this, it should create more consumers in the end. You know, you're creating a good brand presence. Whether it starts negative, it'll always end positive, whether you're fixing things or making a non-satisfied customer now happy. So
yeah, definitely. So speaking of happy customers, how do we keep them happy? By utilizing email. So I'm gonna have Billy go ahead and give us some information on ways to communicate, like what's the best way in email to reach out to your clients and customers?
I would say, like, you know, the best way is you want to get their attention in the subject line. So like you get their inbox, it's generally, you know, flooded with like, you have 97 emails like we all do. You know, I've been seeing a lot of trends with like adding emojis into it. I see a lot of like, you know, a lot of like the offers say it's like 15% off our whole stock, you know, really kind of like things that the consumer would want to see and really kind of like engage them. Yeah. Like, okay, cool. So I know that I want to click into this email because there's 15% off, because they got their new product, because, you know, they now have space available in their classes, more like that kind of like really kind of actionable items, you know, I think work pretty well.
Yeah, I think when creating newsletters, it's really important that you don't flood the subject line with everything you want to talk about. I know in newsletters you have events and new articles, new products, but it's really important to always take like the one big thing you're announcing and using that for the subject line, because that's kind of the main point, and then they'll get the other stuff in it, but you want the most important thing to stand out and kind of be like the, hey, look at me, you know.
Yeah, make sure that the subject line says, this is exactly why you want to read further.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And any other thoughts on that?
You know, like even kind of before that, you want to kind of go through all of your social channels and figure out what products that you want to push. You know, like say you've got one product that's selling 10,000 units and another one selling 6. Like, you know, do you want to spend the advertising money and push that 6,000 one up, or do you want to focus on the 10,000 one? It's already doing great. Maybe you can get it to do better. You know, those kind of like strategic thoughts.
Yeah, I also think it's important to think about what is made to be in a newsletter and what could just be a social post, because not everything needs to be put in a newsletter, you know.
Do you think that like, to me, like they would have slightly different end users. Like my dad would be a great person to send emails to.
Newsletters.
He's never going to go on Facebook. So
or Instagram.
He's not going to check out. He's not looking for hashtags. But if it shows up in his inbox, he'll probably read it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be on demographic too, and your audience, who you're targeting.
So that's where having all of that social in place is very useful, because then you can track who your people are. You can kind of get an idea of what kind of subjects they're going to want to talk about, because it doesn't have to be a product. It could be just a subject or a blog post that we find gets a lot of clicks. Okay, maybe we should talk about this more, and this should go direct to them.
Videos that are embedded in blogs are good ways to get your video out to more people, putting videos in newsletters.
We talk about how important videos are all the time. We do it every week now because of it.
Yep.
Yeah, so what about, going off a little bit on that, what about design elements of your newsletters? How important is that?
I think he's the guy for this question.
I like to keep things pretty, of course everyone likes their clean design, but like a strong headline followed with a paragraph or two, maybe a photo that's relevant to it. I see a lot of things that just use like stock photos, just like a guy standing on a hill, I understand it's kind of a necessary evil, but I'd like to see them a little more focused.
Yeah.
Like maybe a guy standing in front of a computer looking angry.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think, design of newsletters, and I think this is also a really good time for you to focus your audience where you want them to go. So if you've got, we do this a lot, where it's going to be, like you said, there's events that are being talked about, or there's going to be a blog post that you're linking to, and having those links. So it's like, okay, we're going to give you some of the information, and then we want you to link and go to our website. And that's a really good way to engage them back to the channels you need them to go to.
Yeah.
I think that, like the good old more info kind of button is a great tool.
I think in every newsletter I've done, after every single thing, I'm linking to something. An article or a press release or a video or a survey. All buttons. I love inserting buttons on newsletters.
And there's so many of these, the MailChimp or Constant Contact, and they just help you with it. So even if you don't have an agency who's designing for you, you can still absolutely do it. It makes it super easy to insert those buttons, make it look really nice, and make sure you're staying engaged with
and
your
no one wants
people.
to read that much text in a newsletter. Same way you don't want to read that much text. You don't want to be overloaded. So I think buttons and links are just great ways to lead them to where the more information is. And so you can just do a little blurb and nice picture, button, send them off.
I think that newsletters are a great way to get maybe 2 or 3 points across quickly. I wouldn't go more than 3. I don't think people read that way that much through it. Unless you had a calendar or something kind of specifically laid out.
But again, that's even something you can link back to.
Layout.
Layout's key. Layout is key. So it's kind of seen as an old-fashioned way of dealing with your clients, is sending them emails, because it's
bringing it back.
We're bringing it back. It's not interesting anymore to a lot of companies. They're just I get flooded with emails, but I can tell you that I am a great demographic for that, because I'm the one who, if you send me a bunch of emails, I will eventually start opening them.
I
think on the things that I do subscribe to for their email updates, it's things that I'm legitimately interested in. And it's yes, I want your product, but I don't want to spend full price right now. I know you're going to have a sale coming up. Also new and up and coming products are great to hear about through that. I'm more likely to click on my email than to click on my social.
For promotions. Same
Yeah,
I don't
me
click
too.
any ads on social, but every morning I'm okay, did I get something to my inbox for a percentage off or anything? And that's what I'll use.
That goes back to checking your social for what things are the most interesting. Because you said, you're I'm going to open something that I'm interested in. I'm going to subscribe to this newsletter if it's something I'm interested in. And by knowing who your audience is through social channels and checking all of your analytics, you'll be able to create engaging newsletters that will always keep you in front of your clients, which is really what they're for.
And with Constant Contact and MailChimp and stuff like that, you're going to get similar information from tracking and all that.
Exactly.
To really understand who the people are. I think I probably have started in social, and then that led me to going to the actual site and signing up.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually, smart thing that you kind of bring up, a lot of companies will not put promos out on social, and they only do them if you sign up and they get your email address. So it's kind of sneaky, but I'm all for it.
well, like I said, you send me enough emails, I'm gonna eventually buy from you. I'm like that person, so yeah. I'm the worst is what I'm saying. I'm great for companies, I guess.
They love you.
They're like, oh yes, this one, I can send them all the stuff and she'll get it. Okay, so that is some of that stuff that we can talk about, but here we're gonna talk about in the news. We've already started with our IHOP debacle of whatever's going on, but we want to talk about some things that we're noticing going on, starting with teens are turning to YouTube. Apparently, according to a study by Pew, we're seeing that Facebook in popularity of 13 to 17-year-olds are definitely, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, they're outranking Facebook all over the place, and YouTube is where they're going. Does that make sense to you guys?
For me, it doesn't, but maybe because I'm not 13 to 17. But I know a lot of kids grow up watching YouTube. I actually just saw a good childhood friend that works in the same industry say she's starting a vlog because she's like been obsessed with YouTube her whole life, and everything she's learned from makeup to hair has all been on YouTube, so now she wants to do it. But for me personally, I don't know, it never stuck with me. I've always been a diehard Facebook person. I think because I like that I can stay in touch with people from all around the world that you meet, and I think, for instance, like older family members have more Facebook. So I have aunts and uncles that are all on Facebook from Florida, and I've always loved that connection, and I haven't made that connection with YouTube ever.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy YouTube. I love going and finding, and I mean, that's how I do anything. It's like, I don't know how to fix a washing machine, but I can look it up on YouTube and somebody will tell me. Yeah. But even then, I can see where teenagers are using this because we don't watch cable TV anymore as much, everything is streaming, and then YouTube is just coming out with its own stuff now. Not just YouTube Red, but you've got, just users who are out there creating work and then putting it out on YouTube.
I kind of feel like the issue is even deeper than that. Like, to me, it feels like they're kind of like rebelling against Facebook and rebelling against a lot of that, like, forced advertising and forced this and forced that. They're like, I'm cool, I'm just gonna stick with my YouTube.
Little do they know those ads will be on YouTube before we know it.
I mean, already it is.
Yeah.
But like, they're already aware of it, it's already part of the equation to where, like, at least when I signed up for Facebook, it was saying, like, there's not going to be any ads and not, like, ever.
It's crazy that Facebook is, like, old now and not cool. Like, what, can we bring back MySpace, anyone? Like,
do you remember when MySpace rebranded again? It got bought by Justin Timberlake? I don't remember. I don't want to put it, don't listen to me. I'm getting a nod from our video guy, Andrew, over there saying, yes, it was Justin Timberlake who bought MySpace. They turned it into a platform for musicians.
Yeah, and it tanked.
Yeah, it didn't stick around.
Yeah. Still love it. Still love it. Still love Facebook.
Was it Tide?
God, I don't even know.
See, my problem with YouTube is it's just like information overload. How you say, like, when something's broke, you go and like need to find out how to fix it. So I need to learn how to open a wine bottle without a cork. Anything crazy like that. A million videos will come up and I don't know which one to choose, and then I kind of get freaked out by the amount of information you have to choose from. And it never gets open. The bottle never gets open.
Like, never mind. I guess I don't get to have this bottle of wine anymore.
Yeah, I'm just like,
this is stuck forever.
And everyone does it a different way, so I'm like, which one's right? Which one do I do? And that's when I'm just like, I'm done with it. I can't do YouTube. It's too much for me.
I think for me, knowing that YouTube came in after I was it came in while I was a teenager, but it wasn't as popular, and so I kind of like grew into it, and it was growing up with me. And there's so many teenagers now who's like, they've never not known Facebook. Think of like a 13-year-old. They've never not known Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, what? Oh my gosh. So the internet in general.
But they don't know MySpace.
No, they do not remember the days of MySpace. And
what about good old Friendster?
I was never even on Friendster.
No, I'm not on that either.
Never that Wow, you're our antique over here, I guess.
Yep.
It is a real back in my day.
Back in my day, we were on. What was the one before the LiveJournal?
LiveJournal's still around.
Yeah,
it is.
I can see
George
that.
R. R. Martin has a LiveJournal.
I think it still fits its weird little niche.
You guys lost me in like '93. Like, anything before that, I'm out.
All right, let's move on to something a little bit interesting.
On topic.
Thanks to GDPR, Twitter has suspended a bunch of accounts. And apparently, the reason is that, so in order to sign up for Twitter, you have to be 13 years of age or older. Mm-hmm. And due to GDPR, Twitter suspended a bunch of accounts that originally was someone who, if they had signed up even if they had signed up for Twitter before they were 13, and they're like, they just got rid of them. They just like closed out their account for them, even though that person is probably over 13 at this point. There's been a whole bunch of accounts that got closed, kind of regardless of information. And it's making people mad. So real quick, if I back you up a second, for everyone watching who doesn't know what GDPR is, can you guys give me a quick, like, black and white version of it real quick for all the viewers? Yes. So GDPR is regulations that have been put in place by the EU in order to assure that data is not being misused by companies. So they put in a bunch of regulations that says you have to be GDPR compliant, and what you need to do is make sure that people are opting in for your newsletters, for example, or any data that they're giving over, they understand what you're going to be using it for. It's never automatic. It's always going to be they have to click a button to do it. There's no automatic stuff. So it's trying to protect, basically. Yeah, it's giving consent to use your data, and it's very important to know that this is probably something, while it's not something that's happening in the US, it's still like we are treating it here at the agency like it's well, and that's because rules. We have clients that interact with international consumers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is the World Wide Web. You know, you want to think about the whole planet while you're doing this thing too. Yeah, so Twitter states users have to be at least 13 years of age to use the platform, and it hasn't really done much to enforce that, but because it's requiring companies to enforce the minimum age limit of 13, Twitter's solution is getting rid of content created by underage users. So they don't do that like Instagram. Have you guys seen when an underage person has underage child? I don't know the age. If they have an Instagram and they're under the age, whatever the requirement is, it says like their mom runs the account, and they have to put on their bio that like this is managed by my mom. I have seen that. I'm surprised they don't do the same with that. I mean, it's hilarious to see like, oh, my mom runs this. I've seen it of like child actors or like celebrities who have kids that for some reason have a following now because they're so that's like instead of they have to put that on there or their Instagram account will get cut down. Interesting. I didn't even know that. So yeah, cool. Legally, it seems like a better idea just to turn it off.
Yeah,
I mean, like there's so many problems that can come up with it, and finding like a difficult like solution like in the code would be expensive and timely, and just like probably some guy we could just turn them off.
Yeah, somebody was like, the fastest thing to do is just
stop it.
You know, and then we'll deal with it as we go. Yeah.
And you could set it up better for next time. You know, like this is all we're still learning.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's fresh too. It was only like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, two Fridays ago, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty new. So moving on to Pinterest, they are doing full screen video ads now. So do you use Pinterest? Do either of you use Pinterest very often?
No.
No? Kind of guilty. I do upload our blogs onto them. I do on the KWSM Pinterest site. Yeah. So Pinterest is that is where I planned my wedding. Honestly, that's like what so many people do. You know, you go in.
My wife's on it all the time.
Exactly. You go in, you search for whatever you're trying to do, and trying to look up and dress ideas or makeup ideas,
and create boards.
So you have exactly. So you have all of your ideas in one place. Well, companies use all of that information to advertise because they can tell who's searching for what and feed you those things. Now, what I've noticed, because you're usually on your phone when you're Pinteresting, or pinning, I think it's called pinning. Wow, I just made myself sound really old all of a sudden. So when you're scrolling through, it's like a grid of information, and then there will be some that pop up that say they're sponsored, or you'll notice that, oh, it's by a company and whatnot. Now they're doing it so that they'll be the full width of the phone, so that it will take up the space.
I love screen time.
Yeah?
I like it. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah?
As long as it's tailored to me, it's something I want to see. Like, I love the more image, the better.
Yeah. I think
it all depends on the layout. You know, if do I find the layout like intrusive or not?
Yeah.
And it's tricky. I mean, it can be done, especially if it's content tailored to the user. I mean, we're not going to get around it.
No.
You know, it's not going to go away.
No.
Might as well just say, okay, just go with
I've learned to just like all the changes because you don't really have a say in it.
It's going to happen. You get kind of used to it.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be beneficial for people who know that their products do really well on Pinterest, especially when it's like, okay, wedding products is a great one, whether it's jewelry, makeup, that kind of thing. And being able to advertise and go, we know what you're looking for. We have it. Here's where you go. Instead of sometimes when you end up finding a pin, for example, that is just a picture, and then you're like, I literally don't know where this came from, because it's a shared board kind of thing. People can, I can pin my own stuff. I don't have to link to anything. It can just be a picture, you know. And so if I don't know where something came from, it's like, that's a good idea. How am I going to find it?
It's literally like a digital cork board.
Exactly.
I miss the old school ones though.
Just a cork board.
Just start room.
Just made out of wine
all
bottles.
Pictures and cut out magazines.
But this is the time of the internet. We don't have those anymore. Physical things now. Everything's just on
waste
the phone.
of space, waste of paper, digital.
That's probably true. We're being friendly to our eco-friendly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cork is getting rare.
Cork.
Is cork going away?
Some wine companies are trying to get rid of corks, actually.
What are they
This
doing?
has gone totally off topic, guys. So we want to thank you for joining us for this Facebook Live of Social Media Help Desk. Thank you for tolerating me having to host it, and they were much better than me. So Taylor, again, content editor. Billy, one of our web designers. Again, I'm Alexandra. If you have any questions or you want to know more about social media, please comment. Also, like, share, let people know that this is what we're doing every week, Tuesdays at 12:30. We will see you later.